Israel and Hamas declared a ceasefire last night, ending 11 days of heavy fighting with heavy rocket fire on Israel, intense airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. The ceasefire went into effect at 2 o'clock this morning, and throughout the day it seems to be holding. Now, what we've seen today is that both sides are trying to claim victory. Hamas scheduled demonstrations and victory rallies in Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel is also claiming victory, saying that Israel inflicted heavy damage on Hamas. Now, despite these claims, both sides, or both leaders on both sides, face some difficult questions. Hamas is now looking at a long and expensive road to recovery to rebuild all of the heavy damage in Gaza, and Netanyahu is facing some tough questions about why the army was unable to prevent rocket fire from continuing throughout this wave of fighting. In a way, Netanyahu gained from this war. If you remember, he was given a chance after elections in March to put together a new coalition government. He failed. In the meantime, his opponents had been given a chance to put their own coalition together. The clock is ticking, and they have about a week and a half left to complete that task. They had been making progress before the war erupted, but during the fighting, or the fighting itself, greatly complicated that task, and it looks almost impossible now for them to be able to do so. If they fail, the country most likely is heading toward another election campaign. That is good news for Netanyahu. It leaves him in office for a few more months, and it gives him another chance to win an election and to put together a friendly coalition. The question is, will voters reward him, or are they angry over the government's failure once again to stop rocket fire out of the Gaza Strip? Yes, this war provided a first key test for relations between Israel and the new Biden administration, and we saw some mixed signals. On one hand, there were very close contacts, near daily contacts between Netanyahu and Biden directly. On the other hand, we saw some signs of a public rift. On Wednesday, Biden called on Israel publicly to wind down this operation, and Prime Minister Netanyahu pushed back. He said he was going to continue. Now, in the end, he backed down. 24 hours later, he did agree to the ceasefire, but again, we see some public signs of disagreements. The next test is that the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is expected in the region this week, and it will be very interesting to watch the dynamics between the Secretary and Prime Minister Netanyahu. The U.S. Secretary of State Blinken is expected in the region this week for talks with the Israelis, and one of the issues that's expected to be high on the agenda is relations with the Palestinians. The key question that everyone is asking is, how do they go about strengthening the Palestinian Authority and weakening Hamas in the Gaza Strip?